Live from Washington, D.C., Jay Sekulow Live. Phone lines are open for your questions right now. And now, Chief Counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow.
We had a major victory in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia on behalf of the State of Israel. Well, I shouldn't say the State of Israel. On behalf of pro-Israel organizations. They didn't sue Israel itself. They sued cities, towns, government officials, tax-exempt organizations who we represented that support Israel. Shelley Adelson, of course, has been a big supporter of Israel, and the United States of America. And the allegations were by supporting these groups, you were supporting terrorism, genocide, and ethnic cleansing. And they tried to relitigate the entire existence of the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish state, and they moved this into federal court. They've done this at the UN. We pushed back there, where I've spoken twice at the General Assembly. Jordan's spoken at the United Nations, has given a talk at the United Nations on this. We have seen actions in the academy where we are responding there. We've had cases for students and academics. But now we have a major win out of the United States District Court. Let me read from the opinion a couple of points here. And we argued that these were political questions. You can't relitigate Israel's right to exist in a court. These are political questions. The conduct of foreign relations is exclusively, the court said, entrusted to the political branches and immune from judicial inquiry or interference. Plaintiffs asked this court to wade into foreign policy involving one of the most protracted diplomatic disputes in recent memories. As another judge of this court stated when deciding a similar case, it is hard to conceive of an issue more quintessentially political in nature than the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which has raged on the world stage with devastations on both sides. Questions touching on the history of the ancient city of Jerusalem and its legal and international status are among the most difficult and complex in international affairs in our constitutional system. These matters are committed to the legislature and the executive, not the judiciary. Thus, this court concludes plaintiffs' claims are ultimately non-justiciable, which means they got thrown out of court. So a big win on that point. And as Jordan, as you said, this is one lane of a multi-lane attack that we're having to respond to, but we're responding back very aggressively here and winning.
Yes, but taking it seriously, I kind of, in some extent, I mean, it's kind of like the radical atheist lawsuits, in the sense that you could look at these and say, oh, this is not serious, but then you realize the courts are grappling with it, and if they're grappling with it, they're thinking about it, they're already to a next point of even considering. You know, it's not a one-page order.
Yep.
And
23-page order, right.
And which means that it's the political pressure, I think, because everyone has a position on this personally. This judge has a position on this personally, and especially in the United States. They've seized on, in Europe, the pushback. There was, for most of the post-World War II era, anytime it was anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, there was great pushback. There's still remnants of that today. That's probably the only thing that's kept them from moving forward more aggressively outside of, even they've got regional governments who have done this before in Spain, and the courts have stepped in there ultimately. But again, long legal battles, and you think, how does this work in the U.S.? But you see what happens on our college campuses.
Yeah.
Fast forward that 20 more years, and you've got a lot of people in politics and government, all levels of society, who have been taught by these radical professors. At least two, maybe three generations of these professors now, who have bought into this idea that part of the leftist movement in America, and even the anti-fascist movement in America, would consider Israel now part of, as they call Israel, they'll try to label Israel as an apartheid state.
Yeah. All right. We've got a lot more ahead on this, including your phone calls. We want you to defend and stand with Israel. Defend Israel from these anti-Israel attacks, whether it's in court, whether it's at the United Nations or other international tribunals. You can sign that petition at ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or ACLJ.org.
Israel is under constant deadly terrorist knife and rocket attacks. Jewish students, professors, and Christians who support Israel face vicious discrimination at U.S. universities, all in an attempt to delegitimize the state of Israel. Israel is our ally, the Jewish people our friends. It's our duty to defend them. That's why the ACLJ is launching a massive new multinational legal campaign in defense of Israel, in the U.S., at the UN, and with world leaders. But we need these global leaders to hear from you now. Add your name to our new petition, a petition to defend Israel from anti-Israel attacks across the globe. Call now, 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255. Or you can add your name online, aclj.org.
Big win for the ACLJ and the United States District Court for the District of Columbia in the case of al-Tamimi versus Adelson and others. The and others included our client, Gush Etzion Foundation. They are a pro-Israel foundation, obviously. They provide funds, shelter, protection for those that live in Gush Etzion in that area, including educational efforts. They were all sued. A lot of groups, political groups, the state, cities within Israel, government officials here in the United States and in Israel, and as well as individuals. And they were sued with an allegation that if you're supporting Israel or supporting these groups, you're supporting genocide and war crimes. And this is the same arguments they make in the International Criminal Court in The Hague, which we won successfully. But now they just kind of move them over and they put them in the lane of the courtroom. Jordan and I have already been to the United Nations defending Israel there. We do this in the academy. We've had articles published. We push back when we're representing students or faculty members that are being harassed because they're pro-Israel or Jewish, whatever it might be. And now we push back in federal court with a big 23-page opinion in our favor. Now, I want to say something or reiterate something Jordan said, and then we'll go right to the calls. The court said that this, and this is what we said too, that this was not a justiciable, meaning a case that could be decided in the courts, that it was a case that had to be decided by the executive branch or legislative branch of government. And the court agreed with us. But they even talk about Jerusalem in here because these guys in this lawsuit were trying to relitigate the existence of Jerusalem being in Jewish hands. And the court said the questions touching upon the history of the ancient city, of course, Jerusalem, and its legal and international status are among the most difficult and complex in international affairs. In our constitutional system, these matters are committed to the legislature and the executive, not the judiciary. So that was a defeat for these Palestinian activists that were trying to get this decided in the courts. It was a big defeat. It was a big win for us and a big defeat for them.
Yeah, and it's important to fight every front, getting it on the record. And knowing, because they're spending resources too. Yep. They have to spend resources to bring the law. You know, we were talking about fighting back at the lawsuit. They have to spend the resources as well. And they will make a decision ultimately after you get a couple of these decisions which are very negative for them. It's not worth the resources there. It doesn't mean they won't find another area to fight a battle, but you can, again, you kind of put a halt to another area. And we know, I mean, our courts, this is the last place you want these issues being handled. And so I think it's important.
All right, let's go ahead and take some calls.
Dennis in Reno, Nevada on line 5.
Hi, Dennis.
Been on hold for a long time. Thanks, Dennis.
Yes, hello.
Hey, you're on the air.
Thank you guys for what you do.
Thanks.
You're very vital to everything that's going on, and Israel is vital too. And I thank you. We support Israel. We're pro-Israel. And I just want to make that comment because you asked the question, how we all feel. And I feel we need to help Israel because Israel, if the time were to come, would help us.
Well, look, I think it's one of our most important allies in the world. It is in the middle, the epicenter of world events. We know that has been since the beginning of time. And look, this is a big part of what we do. We have a big team that works these cases. We have an office in Jerusalem. Our offices in Strasbourg, Jordan. You've had them involved in this, and in Europe, because Europe is also a whole different battleground and a very difficult one. It's
gotten to the next levels there. So they've actually had regional cities, municipalities enact this boycott, divestment sanctions, and then the lawsuits following after that, because they have serious ramifications. Most international businesses and the major corporations have got corporate offices in Israel. So when this happens, this impacts multi-level. That's why here they didn't go after Israel specifically. They went after cities, towns. They went after entities that were supportive of Israel. But Google is there, Nike is there. So when this happened, and it happened in Spain, or it happens at a regional level, it impacts all these corporations. But that's what they want, is that you think twice. Is it worth doing business here? Is it worth having to fight these lawsuits?
And some have backed out. I mean, some companies have. Not the big ones. I mean, they're holding tough. But they sued in this one. They sued Google, Microsoft, everybody. Yeah.
So, the major companies have held strong there because the technical industries there. But these are the areas where they are.
Yeah.
This is where they've got the 1,000 people working.
Right.
And it's in these cities and towns, which are kind of corporately structured cities and towns. Actually, they're very in the sense that they're focused in on
tech.
People move there to work in these
the tech
industries.
industry.
So,
all right,
it's specific to that.
Big win in district court. Logan, you want to take a comment or a call?
Let's we can take a comment. Wow. Okay. All right. This is a question that a lot of people are asking about, just essentially updates on the situation in Israel, and that lawsuit, was it thrown out as frivolous, or why wasn't it?
No, it was not thrown out as frivolous.
Why wasn't it? That's
okay, well, Jordan made that point. Do we have Fan Bennett with us? Yeah, I want to Fan. I mean, this issue on boycott, divest, and sanction, and I knew you were there the last 30 minutes, but we just got a lot going on. It's been an issue also on Capitol Hill.
It sure has. I mean, you've said several times, Jay, that this is a political question to be decided by the legislatures. We fought this both at state legislatures and here on Capitol Hill. And the other point I would make, Jay, the part of that political question is decided at the United Nations. You guys have talked about that a lot, but remember, over the last 8 years, the BDS allies found shelter in the United States. That has not historically been the case, but under the Obama administration, they did. And so that made it more important than ever that we be there at the United Nations as well to engage that political question. And I've got to tell you, Jordan has said this many times, but they will continue to press on all of these fronts. And if we were to pull out of any of them, including the United Nations, that is where it would get the traction next.
It's interesting that the question came in on Facebook and Periscope. Why wasn't it just thrown out as just kind of, a frivolous lawsuit? Well, it wasn't thrown out as frivolous. It's a 23-page opinion. Now, I'm glad we won, but it shows you that the courts are having to wrestle with this. Here's a portion of the opinion. The same conclusion cannot be reached here, where the resolution of the Israel-Palestinian conflict, including questions of sovereignty in the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem, is still very much at the forefront of the executive's ongoing diplomatic efforts in the region. So it talks about the political nature of this, the executive branch deciding it. So this was an in-depth analysis that the court had to do in order to dismiss this case. So the Palestinian activists are very creative in how they move forward. We just have got to be very creative and aggressive in our response back.
Yeah, and I think they understand that if you give people an opportunity to discuss this issue, everybody's got an opinion.
They're winning in a sense.
And so if you could get a judge to sit there and even write those words about whether Jerusalem is part of Israel or not, you're already changing kind of a discussion of just you're wasting our court's time.
Because you're not throwing it out as frivolous.
No,
right.
With the one-page
order. In a $34 billion initially lawsuit that they modified to $1 billion.
People spend time crafting 23 pages thinking that this may get appealed.
Yep.
And it's got to have a basis, and because you don't know exactly how a Ninth Circuit panel of 3 judges would look at something like this.
Exactly.
Depending on the 3 judges that come to it. Because you only need 2 of those 3. You get 2 of the 3 more leftist.
And you could be in a different ballgame. Yeah. You want to grab another caller here before the break?
Let's maybe grab one quick call. Let's go to David in Colorado on line 3. Like you said, phone lines are open. David, thanks for holding.
Hi, David.
Thank you, gentlemen. Congratulations on your current victory and your future victories in court. How is this the UN even acknowledging this, or courts, when one side, Israel, is saying peace, we just want to be left alone in peace, and the other side's clearly, openly saying We want to destroy you. And this is their government.
Yeah, well, this is how do you negotiate with someone that's calling for your destruction? And remember that when you're talking about the Palestinian Authority, you got they're in partnerships kind of with Hamas. So it creates a very unlikely scenario where you're going to bring peace. But here's what you do have. You have an attempt by utilizing the court system to, in essence, do what the UN has been trying to do. Then if you could get the courts to do it, and that would be delegitimizing Israel. They tried that at the International Court, Criminal Court in The Hague, where, frankly, they had a friendly venue, and they were not successful. Now, we probably filed, Jordan, thousands of pages of documents over the course of that year-long proceeding before the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court in The Hague. But you have to push back on these to carry the day.
And they go back there again. They
are going back again.
And it's not just a resource issue. They're waiting to find that individual judge or the individual prosecutor at the international level who will move forward. They've had, again, outside of our country, the idea of support for Israel and being tied to politics and being vocal in that, it's not the same. Just like on many issues, we kind of engage in the United States in our political process that other countries don't, in a more public nature. This is one especially where there's been a move, an anti-Israel move at an international level outside of the normal places you would expect.
All right, we've got a lot more ahead to discuss on this victory in the United States District Court. The court held that we were correct, that this issue of trying to relitigate the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish state is not appropriate in a federal court. It was dismissed. We're happy about that. It's going to go, I'm sure, to the Court of Appeals. I'm confident we'll win there, too. We want you to defend and stand with Israel. Defend Israel from these anti-Israel attacks, whether it's in court, whether it's at the United Nations or other international tribunals. You can sign that petition at ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or ACLJ.org.
Israel is under constant deadly terrorist knife and rocket attacks. Jewish students, professors, and Christians who support Israel face vicious discrimination at U.S. universities, all in an attempt to delegitimize the state of Israel. Israel is our ally, the Jewish people our friends. It's our duty to defend them. That's why the ACLJ is launching a massive new multinational legal campaign in defense of Israel, in the U.S., at the UN, and with world leaders. But we need these global leaders to hear from you now. Add your name to our new petition, a petition to defend Israel from anti-Israel attacks across the globe. Call now, 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255. Or you can add your name online, aclj.org.
We had such a big win here in federal court on behalf of the pro-Israel organizations. We wanted to spend the hour talking about how, because it's very important that we not allow Israel to be delegitimized. Logan, who's next?
Let's go to Gretchen in Baltimore, Maryland. You're on the air.
Hi, Gretchen.
Hi. My question is very simple. For as long as I can remember, I've heard nothing but criticism and animosity towards Israel and the Jews. My question is, why does everyone hate the Jews?
Well, look, read the scriptures. And everyone doesn't, but this is a persecuted people. It's my people group, so I can attest to this. Within my own family, I've had relatives in my family that were lost in the Holocaust. Anti-Semitism is real. It's on the rise. It tends to ebb and flow. It never completely goes away, but there tends to be times when it's more aggressive. It's in an aggressive time right now, and that's why we've got basically a whole unit of the ACLJ dedicated to fighting this back. In our family cemetery in New York, there's a plaque of members of our family that were lost in the Holocaust on both my mother's and father's side. So, I mean, it's a real issue for us. But the animosity is, in part, if you read the scriptures, it's very clear what it is. But if you just look at it from a geopolitical standpoint, one small country, smaller than Rhode Island, smaller than New Jersey, and it seems at times that the entire Muslim world is opposed to Israel. Now, that's not right now. They got allies that they didn't have before because the world politics are changing. But look, you've got to constantly fight against anti-Semitism and constantly fight for the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish state.
Yeah, and there's a bizarre convergence of far left groups, and remember, on the other side of some of these protests, you have traditional anti-Semitic, whether it's KKK or neo-Nazi groups.
Yep.
But on the far left side, they're actually pushing a more, I'd say, dangerous agenda because they're going at it from the far left side.
And
they're
academia.
not coming at it from a neo-Nazi side. Right. But that's actually the most danger is not 4 or 5 activists outside the mainstream. It's these liberal college professors who are preaching to a group of
students.
Every single
and the hatred that they spew. These professors spew at pro-Israel students or Jewish students. I mean, we've had the cases. So I mean, we're talking from real experience here. I mean, this is real. All right, we're going to try to get all these calls done in this 5 minutes. Can we do 3 calls? 4 calls. I think we can.
I think so. Let's go to Susan, who's calling in Liberty, South Carolina. You're on the air.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. Just a quick question.
Yep.
Why are these cases in our courts and not somewhere else?
Well, they are somewhere else, too. I mean, they're in the International Criminal Court in The Hague. We won there. They still bring them, though. They bring them in courts in Europe all the time. We're fighting them back there. And then they bring them in domestic courts. So, and then you also have to fight it at the United Nations. You have to fight it on the academic, on the campuses. You got to fight it in the publications. We've got a whole series coming out on this. So it's like I said, it's a multifaceted fight. You just saw one court opinion. It's a great court opinion. We're very happy we won. Sure, it will be appealed. Very happy we won, but it's one court opinion. There's going to be more efforts on this. So, Susan, they are fighting it out in multiple venues, not just one.
All right, let's continue on. Amy, New Jersey, you're on the air, line 3.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Jay.
Hey.
I'm a Jew, and I'm very happy with what you're doing.
Great.
Number 2, my mother-in-law has cousins in Israel, and they have burnt these people, these Palestinians have burned down her cousins' apartments. Number 1. So when you put if Israel doesn't fight, there's going to be no more Israel. And number 3, I would hope that the liberal Jews that are so against our president wake up and start supporting someone that's supporting them in their existence.
Well, I'll let Jordan address the political. You can address the politics of it because there's a whole Republican Jewish coalition too. I mean, it's not absent.
No, and it's the Obama administration showed in the final days. It was not until the final days of the second term when they started really taking actions to delegitimize Israel. Some of the rhetoric, obviously the Iranian nuclear deal, there was a lot of opposition to in the pro-Israel world, but not universal. So because of that, I think, yes, but you're not going to see that happening overnight. We have a unique political system, though, in our country where this is even an issue where you don't see, I mean, it's not like Democrats don't go to the events.
Right.
They may have different ideas sometimes on the left of what it means to support Israel, but oftentimes they think they're helping the situation by pushing it slightly, some restrictions here or there, and I disagree with that, but that's where they kind of fall.
Yep. All right. Want to grab the last call?
Yep. Last call of the day. Let's go to Jose, who's calling in New York City, New York. You're on the air, Jose.
God bless you guys. Thank you for allowing me to be part of the discourse. I want to send out my sentiment that we support Israel wholeheartedly. No matter what we have to do, the state of Israel must survive. And even though here in the United States we got a little bit of course with the, with things that are happening, but we still believe in the United States. It is the great experiment that the world has set on and will know. Thank you very much.
Hey, Jose, thanks for calling in. We really appreciate that. Let me tell you what I'm glad to do this broadcast today because I wanted to get a sense, Logan, of where our audience was. Sure. It was very clear where our constituents and friends are.
Yeah, a lot of people supporting Israel online. That's all that's happening right now.
That's going to do it for the broadcast today. Again, your support of the ACLJ enables us to take these kind of cases and win them. And again, your support makes a huge difference. We got a petition up. If you want to show your support for Israel, I want you to call 1-877-989-2255. Add your name of supporting Israel. And we're going to share that with government officials around the globe. ACLJ.org. That's ACLJ.org. Or 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or ACLJ.org. And your financial support for the ACLJ also makes a huge difference. Again, you can do that at ACLJ.org. Talk to you next week.
Israel is under constant deadly terrorist knife and rocket attacks. Jewish students, professors, and Christians who support Israel face vicious discrimination at U.S. universities, all in an attempt to delegitimize the state of Israel. Israel is our ally. The Jewish people are friends. It's our duty to defend them. That's why the ACLJ is launching a massive new multinational legal campaign in defense of Israel, in the U.S., at the UN, and with world leaders. But we need these global leaders to hear from you now. Add your name to our new petition, a petition to defend Israel from anti-Israel attacks across the globe. Call now, 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255. Or you can add your name online, aclj.org.
Right now, the unthinkable is happening. Faithful Christians are being kidnapped, tortured, beheaded, and crucified simply because they are Christians. This is genocide, and it won't stop unless we do something about it. At the ACLJ, we're on the front lines in Washington, D.C., at the United Nations, and in the region advocating for those who cannot defend themselves. But we cannot do it alone. We need your support, and we need it now. Go to aclj.org right now and help us fight to restore Christians to their homes and families. The ACLJ has the global and strategic resources to engage the decision makers, fight against persecution, and protect the faithful Christians in these regions. With every passing minute, the threat against Christians grows and intensifies. We need your help to get our leaders to understand that Christians overseas are under attack and need our help. Your support can help the ACLJ stop the senseless and evil persecution. Call the number on your screen or go to aclj.org.